Hello everyone and welcome to Bhasi's IAS. Let's take up today's news analysis, that is 13th December 2019. Let's get into our first article of discussion. Our first article is related to Citizenship Amendment Bill or CAB. So we had a detailed discussion on last day regarding the same. So we'll see what is the follow-up or what is the news addition to this topic. So Citizenship Amendment Bill, as we know, is an amended version of 1955 Citizenship Bill, and the new amended bill have been passed both by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And today's news is that in addition to this, even we got the assent of President in this bill. So Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and President, so entire Parliament has given approval for the same amendment bill. Okay, Parliament approval we have got. So Citizenship Amendment got the assent of President Ramnath Kovind. A late night notification said on Thursday, even as a violent protest against it continued in several districts in the Brahmaputra Valley. An indefinite curfew was imposed on Guwahati, Dibrugarh and Tezpur. The headline reads very clearly that anti-CAB protests raged through Assam. 2 people have killed in the police firing. Mob attack houses of MLAs and ministers, offices of BJP and AGP vandalized. Yesterday we have discussed that in Assam there is suspension on mobile internet and data services. The same has been extended for more 48 hours. Suspension of mobile internet and data services in the affected districts as thousands of protesters took to the streets. Crowds attacked the offices of BJP, the RSS and AGP and the houses of MLAs belonging to ruling coalition. And in the state of Assam, air, train and bus services were cancelled. As the protest against anti-CAB happening through Assam, the state has indicated a crackdown on protesters with more than 5,000 paramilitary personnel besides the army deployed in sensitive areas. It has also been instructed the local authorities to take action. As the protest across the state continued, Assam Assembly Speaker Hidendra Nath Goswami in the statement said that doubts over the CAB were not baseless. There was a strong possibility of it creating divisions if implemented. Even there was a great uproar in Parliament over the CAB bill. The government and the opposition clashed in Lok Sabha on Thursday after Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prashil Joshi accused the Congress of stoking protest and instigating violence in the northeastern region following passage of Citizenship Amendment Bill 2019. During the 0 hour, Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said that the entire region was in flames, barring a few places. We can see from the pictures here. These are pictures, everything from Assam, and we can understand that how uproar the situation is there. The violence stemmed from the passage of the bill and apprehensions of the people about the consequences. The Kashmir phenomenon is being replicated in the northeastern region. It has become a Kashmir and it is seeing like a similar internet shutdown. Situation in Kashmir has not normalized because of these people. That means the ruling party this was being blamed by a Congress leader. Our next article is also related to this CAB amendment bill. The article says that in the name of a majority, the NRC in Assam has given us an indication of risk involved in such exercises of inclusion and exclusion. So let's get into this detail and understand what's been talked about. So we know from all these discussions that CAB has been passed in both the houses and it got assent from the president also. So this promises to give protection of citizenship to non-Muslims who fled to India to escape religious persecution in Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. While religious persecution is a reasonable ground for protection, problem with the CAB is that it does not include all communities that suffered religious persecution and explicitly excludes Muslims who suffered persecution in the specified countries and other non-Muslim majority countries like Myanmar. But at the same time, CAB is not seen in isolation. The CAB is directly linked with National Registry of Citizenship or NRC exercise which is done in Assam. Okay, so CAB is directly linked with this because it must be seen in tandem with the National Register of Citizenship and other changes in the citizenship law which have been preceded it. Home Minister and the Law Minister have clarified that CAB and NRC are distinct. NRC protects the country against illegal migrants and CAB protects refugees. This have a history from 2003. In 2003, insertion of the category illegal migrants in the provisions of citizenship by birth became the hinge from which NRC and CAB later emerged. The citizenship, that is registration of citizens and issue of national identity cards rules of 2003 made registration of all citizens of India, issue of national identity cards, maintenance of national population register and establishment of an NRC by central government and made it compulsory. So under these rules, Registrar General of Citizen Registration is to collect particulars of individuals and families including their citizenship status through a house-to-house enumeration. So in an exception to general rule, Assam has followed a different procedure of inviting applications with particulars of each family and individual and their citizenship status based upon the NRC 1951 and electoral rolls up to midnight of March 24, 1971. The purpose of NRC is to sift out foreigners and illegal migrants who were referred to at different points as infiltrators and aggressors and a threat to territory and people of India. Again, from the continuation of 2003 Act, that is Citizenship Registration of Citizens and Issue of National Identity Cards rules of 2003. The second strand emerging from this amendment has been the form of CAB, which exempts minority communities. So, exempting minority community is the next clause. That is Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains and Christians from these three countries, that is Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan, from the category of illegal migrants. So there is a widespread protest telling that CAB will violate the constitution. But the claim that CAB does not violate the constitution is reflective of the recommendations of Joint Parliamentary Committee, that is JPC. Joint Parliamentary Committee has advised by constitutional experts to use a broader category called persecuted minorities to protect the bill from charge of violating the right to equality under Article 14. CAB issues the category minority communities and goes on to identify them on the ground of religion. So, the notifications of September 2015 and July 2016 which charge the Passport and the Foreigners Act have mentioned the term religious persecution. Consideration of religious persecution for making a distinct among persons, the JPC argued could not be discriminatory because distinction was both intelligible and reasonable. While we are summarizing our discussion regarding the amendment and the anti-CAB protest across the nation, especially in Assam, the focus is in the recent parliamentary debates for various reasons was the eastern borders. States in the region have resisted the CAB and simultaneously asked for an NRC. West Bengal has been an exemption. The reality of imposing a national order of things through a CAB and an NRC is non-national spaces will unfold in future. But Assam has given us adequate evidences of the risk involved. It can only be hoped that judiciary and civil society are able to restore constitutional and democratic politics through an exercise of counter-majoritarian power in a context where electoral gains have determined political choices. Let's get into our next article of discussion. This article is regarding Indian economy. Precisely, we are talking about IIP shrinkage. That is, IIP shrinks again. Inflation accelerates. Food inflation is at a 40-month high. So let's get into this article and see what's been talked about. So before getting into more detail about the current status, first we'll try to understand what is IIP stands for, or when it is released and what's been talked about, or what does this index actually say. So IIP stands for Index of Industrial Production. While talking about a great definition, we can say that Index of Industrial Production is an index which shows growth rates in different industry groups of the economy in a stipulated period of time. So it is showing growth rates in different industry groups of the economy in stipulated period of time. The IIP index is computed and published by CSO or Central Statistical Organization. This is on a monthly basis. So different industry it is looking into. It is published by CSO and it is published on a monthly basis. Description: when we talk about IIP, is a composite indicator that measures the growth rate of industry groups classified under broad sectors, use-based sectors. Okay, and broad sectors are mining, manufacturing and electricity. Use-based sectors are basic goods, capital goods and intermediate goods. Currently, IIP figures are calculated considering 2004-2005 as the base year. Now we'll come back to our current affair. Industrial activity contracted for the third consecutive month in October by 3.8% is the current news. This was driven by a fall in activity across sectors according to official data released on Thursday. Separate data showed that retail inflation has surged to a 40-month high, that is 5.54 in November, driven by rising food inflation. So food inflation is also recorded a 40-month high. Index of industrial production had contracted by 4.3% last time and 1.1% in August. So growth in consumer price index or CPI accelerated in November for the fourth consecutive month. This combination of contraction in industrial activity and rising inflation has led experts to fear that India is entering a phase of stagflation. So what is stagflation? Stagflation is in which there is a persistent high inflation combined with a stagnant or declining demand. So stagflation, we can talk about there is a high inflation but there is a declining demand. Then we can say situation is stagflation. Momentum of IIP remaining in the negative zone has continued till CPI inflation led by food and vegetable inflation. This have crossed 5.5%. Within the IIP, mining sector shrunk by 8% in October compared with 8.5% the previous month. Manufacturing sector contracted for the third consecutive months with a contraction of 3.9% in September. Let's get into our next article of discussion. This article is regarding water planning or the failure in the water planning strategy. Not many lessons learned from water planning failures. In the absence of scientific planning and implementation, measures like Jal Shakti Abhiyan may not be successful. So let's get into this article and see why this is in news and what is being talked about in the article. So first we'll try to understand why in news. Following the massive water crisis across India in the summer of 2019, central government hurriedly launched Jal Shakti Abhiyan or JSA, a time-bound mission mode water conservation campaign to be carried out in two phases across 255 districts having critical and overexploited groundwater levels. But as a critic to this Jal Shakti Abhiyan, this article says that the campaign, however, was not intended to be a funding program and did not create any new intervention in its own. It only aimed to make water conservation a people movement through ongoing schemes like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Assurance Program and other government programs. So JSA, that is Jal Shakti Abhiyan, is partly modeled and driven by some sporadic success stories such as NGO Tarun Bharat Singh's experiment in Alwar, Rajasthan and Anna Hazare led efforts in Religan Siddhi, Maharashtra. So these projects primarily involve building tanks and ponds to capture rainwater and building recharge wells to recharge groundwater. However, it is unclear whether they are based upon references to watershed management or groundwater prospect maps. So before we getting into the article, first let us try to understand what is Jal Shakti Abhiyan or JSA talked about. This is launched by Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation. It is launched on July 1st. JSA is a collaboration towards water conservation and identified 256 water-stressed districts covering 1592 blocks, over 1,000 central government officials joining states for focused interventions towards India's water security. So it's given three main strategies, that is trap rainwater, install a wastewater system and spread the message. So trap rainwater. After collection, the water can be used to water plants, for laundry and many other purposes. Install a wastewater system like showers, sinks and even ROs only require a small grey water collection system. The collected water can be used outdoors for cleaning the veranda, watering grass or even washing the car. And also it talks about spreading the message. Share your water conservation efforts and stories on social media using hashtagging Jal Shakti for Jal Shakti. So this was the three campaign mode advice which is given to the public. First one is that we have to trap rainwater. Second one, install a wastewater system. And the third one is spread the message. And it's also given a fact that only 8% of rainwater is being collected in India. So as we have discussed, Jal Shakti Abhiyan or JSA is being launched by Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation. It will cover both rural and urban areas. Okay, and the main strategies are watershed development, water conservation and rainwater harvesting, renovation of traditional and other water bodies or tanks, reuse borewell or recharge structures, intensive afforestation, application of space technology, real-time monitoring dashboards, and targeted communication campaigns. The article talks about that planning has to be done scientifically. While planning scientifically, we have to based upon hydrological units named to river basins. And political and administrative boundaries of districts rarely coincide with the hydrological boundaries or aquifer boundaries. However, contrary to this principle of water management, JSA or Jal Shakti Abhiyan have planned based upon the boundary of the districts and to be carried out under the overall supervision of a bureaucrat. The article also criticized, saying that it fundamentally ignored the fact that most of India's water-stressed basins, particularly those in the peninsular regions, are facing closure with the demand exceeded supply. Hence, groundwater recharge happened at the cost of surface water and vice versa. This is where an absence of autonomous and knowledge-intensive river basin organization is acutely felt. So we can summarize the discussion on JSA stating that it is difficult to say whether measures like JSA can provide long-term solutions. Most of the farm built with soil can collapse within one monsoon season due to rains or trespassing by farm vehicles, animals and humans. Further, there are issues like lack of proper engineering supervision of these structures, involvement of multiple departments with less or no coordination, and limited funding under the Mahatma Gandhi National Employment Rural Guarantee Assurance Program and other schemes. So, finally, there have hardly been many efforts undertaken to dissuade farmers from growing water-intensive crops such as paddy, sugarcane and banana when it is widely known that agriculture consumes 80% of fresh water. Summer water crisis has not led to our policymakers learning many lessons, and the country just seems to have returned to a business as usual situation. That's all for today. Hope this helps. Thank you.